Patrick, good to see you. Thanks for doing this. I know we connected a few days ago, and appreciate you making yourself available on a Friday afternoon. So thanks.
You bet. I'm glad to be here.
Especially, I mean, we live in the same city, so it's
I know.
fellow Arizonian.
How weird is that? We thumb our nose right now because we have the beautiful weather, and all the people back east are still freezing by and large. So they'll have their chance to thumb their nose at us when it's 120 here.
Yeah, it's been really a bizarre winter in terms of the cold that they've experienced. Like where I'm from in Ohio, and even Florida. I mean, they've gotten like an Arctic winter, and we've just gotten no rain.
Right. Yeah. It was really strange for sure. I wonder, how much the weather has changed because of geoengineering. There's really no way to prove it, but we know that there was a significant effort by the government and the military to experiment with geoengineering. And that may have been part of our problem, but who knows at this point.
Right. And yeah, I mean, you definitely. I had a friend that was visiting from Europe in December, and she was saying how she's like, I just can't believe the air quality over here. Between that and the food, it's just. We went out to lunch, and she goes, I can't even believe what people are eating here. We went and actually got gelato. I'd taken her down to Old Town, and she's like, let's go get some gelato. And we go in there, and the girl helping us had filled up a double scoop, and the cup was huge. And she goes, can you cut that in half, please? But she was saying how the air quality, she's like, it's so bad. She's like, I'm having a hard time in the week that I've been here.
Wow. Yeah. Yep. It can get really bad here for sure. But like you said, it is what it is. We can't change the air at this point, not by ourselves anyway.
Well, and it also shows, at least it's shown me, ever since COVID, how everything I feel like we've been told has been wrong. And, we'll get into the AI here in a second, but the food supply, how they, in my opinion, have poisoned us with, the standard American diet and, this narrative of like crackers and pretzels are good. None of that stuff is good for you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. That's what we call propaganda, right? It's good for you. So, yeah.
Do you think people are waking up to all this?
I think some are, some aren't. We have a lot of people today that are so enamored with what Trump is doing in the country. He's doing some things obviously great, but other things I don't think is very, very great. But you have a lot of people in the country who are so enamored with the Trump phenomena. They're not looking at anything else except just the idol, if you will.
Well, I find that with the people that idolize Trump and he can do no wrong, it's because they think they can go back to the way life was prior to COVID, and this will be he can just fix everything and move levers around.
Exactly. There's nothing to go back to at this point. that everything is an illusion going backwards. We have to face the future right now, and it's going to be iffy. So, lots of forces congealing at this point. The citizens are always caught in the middle of those forces. And so we're at risk of being slapped around and moved around and hit upon, et cetera. We'll probably end up taking the brunt of the financial aspect of it as well if the country really goes down the tubes. So it's going to be interesting to see these people how they will jockey for the global stage at this point.
So I want to talk about the negatives of this, but But before we do that, what are some of the positives that you're seeing right now? Let's end. We'll end on the negative note. We'll start with the positives, and then we'll go negative.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a good thing that Trump is closing the border, at least putting a lid on it. That's a good thing. When as an Arizona, of course, is a border state, we're sensitive to immigration issues here, illegal immigration issues here. So I think everybody's probably happy with that. Um, we see that he's done some things that very vocal. By the way, there was just today there was the White House meeting with Zelensky from Ukraine, and it turned into almost a melee. I thought maybe they're going to get into a fist fight, but all the media was there, and basically Zelensky wouldn't shut his mouth. Trump ended up arguing with him, and basically they kicked him out of the White House at that point. So this it was kind of gratifying to see somebody take this foreign leader who's been sucking our treasury dry for years now to just basically get slapped in the face and sent off. They send him packing at that point. Um, the bravado that Trump has displayed at this point, that's probably pleasing to a lot of people. And you have to say, for all the grief that we've had in the last 6 years, well, at least 4 years, it's kind of nice to see a leader stand up and take some shots. But on the other hand, the other side of that is that uh, all of these technocrats, especially the billionaire technocrats, the tech bros who are encircling the government right now. That's very disturbing to me. That's not something anybody bargained for before the election, I don't think. In fact, I don't think that was any reason for one person to cast a vote for Trump. This just wasn't on the radar at all, I think, for most people. But nevertheless, the tech bros are now in Washington, D.C., and they're setting their claws into the government mechanism back there. That's disturbing for sure. So, another thing that I think is going to be good. Uh, Trump is being lobbied right now by his some of his cabinet appointees to um, nullify Obama's regulation that that called for global warming to be a priority in American politics and expenditures. That could actually send the whole climate change, global warming nonsense out of our country. It would potentially save trillions of dollars as well, because that's how much we spent over the last 10 years for it. So people will cheer that. I think in the end, some of the other people on the other side, of course, they're aghast that global warming is going to kill us all, and I guess I'll get over it. But it's kind of crazy. So it's a mixed bag at this point. Lots of good things he's done. Uh, Probably won't be outweighed by the damage that could be done by the technocrats that are running around Washington D.C. right now.
Are you surprised with the amount of the speed at which this administration is working?
I really am. I really am. I part of this is certainly Elon Musk. Um, Elon Musk works fast. You have to give it to him. He understands working fast. He understands breaking things also. But here's a guy who put up the largest the largest data facility in the country in Memphis, Tennessee. Recently, he had 100,000 advanced chips from NVIDIA that were delivered to that warehouse. It was an empty building eventually, or in the first place. And within 19 days, all of that whole array of 1,000, or excuse me, 100,000 computers were networked together into one huge supercomputer to process AI, namely XAI. That's his version of AI. He did it in 19 days, and even the chairman of NVIDIA was just shocked that he had figured out how to do that, because the head of the CEO of NVIDIA said nobody's ever done this in the history of our country, or for sure. So Musk is a guy who knows how to get things done. We see this type of acceleration in the first month of the Trump presidency, and so you see the Doge team has fanned out across the country at lightning speed, just turning up all kinds of stuff for sure. But at the same time, you had all of the slew of executive orders that Trump has signed since he was inaugurated. I don't know how many it is now, but I think it's over 150. That's a lot of EOs. I last lost count, I think about 75, but I need to go back and read all of them because they're all important, in my opinion. But so we've seen all of these things. We see all the interaction with like in Europe with the slap around of Zelensky from Ukraine. And so there's lots of foreign policy has been executed quickly. So yes, it's been a wild ride so far. I kind of hope it slows down, but it it probably will slow down at some point, because we can only absorb so much shock and awe, and somewhere along the way, people need to digest. Even the government has to digest what's going on too.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Why do you think it'd be a good thing if things slow down?
Well, somewhere somebody has to go along and deal with the details of everything. It's one thing to kick off different projects and stuff, but the reality is of life are you can't do that all the time. You just can't kick off initiative after initiative after initiative. Somebody has to go out or come behind to pick up the poop, so to speak, like in a parade. So that, I think that's just going to be the reality. We'll see somewhere it's going to start tapering off, but we'll see the results of the campaigns. Put it that way.
Yeah, and I the carousel. I remember saying last year, after he won the election, the carousel is just going to get faster and faster. But I never thought it would be at the speed of where we're at right now.
I agree with you. It kind of stunned me, but we know that at this point the nature of this presidency is so much different than the first time, and it almost makes you wonder if there was maybe some theatrics going on in the first administration that we didn't see as theatrics, with all of the campaigns to get him out of the country and kill him and whatever. Now it seems he has this assertive character. He's he's barging around like a prize fighter in the ring, um, and it's like he's throwing knockout punches. This is a different Donald Trump this time around, and that kind of shocks me that he's taking the lead on these things with authority, not taking any guff out of anybody. And I don't know what to make of it, where it's going to go at this point, but it's going to be interesting, I have to say. We're dealing definitely with a different animal and a different characteristic of the administration that he is forming.
He is the most resilient person that I've ever seen in my life.
Yes, you have to hand it to him for sure. And again, I reflect back, and this is political. I understand. I'm not interested in politics by and large, but I have to reflect back on how I felt and how I was disgusted by all the people that he appointed the first time around that knifed him in the back, basically. And here's the guy who he became the victim at that point, right? And it was merciless. The FBI turned against him, the CIA turned against him. All these people and all of the liberal media just went nuts, and he was kind of beaten down all that time, and then it continued after he got out of office, and everybody thought, oh, he's a goner then because they're going to prosecute him, and blah blah blah. We don't see that kind of a situation now at all. Not at all. The people he's put into his key positions, he's expecting them to do what he asked them to do, and they're basically cleaning house at this point, scraping out anybody who could give him a hard time or defy his orders at this point. We didn't see that before. He basically said, well, oh well, that he was fighting with the FBI, for instance. He's not going to do that now. He has a hand appointed FBI director, and he's going to hold his feet to the fire for sure. So he will do things differently, I think, going forward from here than we saw before.
And he is one of the most or not, I already said resilient, but he is a phenomenon, and we'll never see this in the political stage ever again, in my opinion.
I'll say it again. I just gotta.
No, I said we'll never see the phenomenon that he is. We'll never see that again in this political world.
Probably not. Yeah. But at this point, the story of the day, in my opinion, is that all of these technocrats all of a sudden have just appeared out of nowhere. Nobody knew, people knew Elon Musk for sure, but other people like David Sachs, Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, who knew those people 2 years ago?
Howard Lutkin. Would you put Howard Lutkin? I mean to cut you off, Patrick, but Howard Lutkin.
Exactly.
So let me ask you something and get your thoughts on it, because I've been talking about this a lot. I had I don't know if you're familiar with Matt Smith. He co-hosts a show with Doug Casey on a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about two things on there primarily: the future of AI, and also we talked about the intentional devaluation of the dollar that seems to be occurring right now. So with these people, these technocrats that have come in, because these were the same ones that were against him in 2020, all the way through 16 and all the way in 2020. And in my view, they didn't come on board this time around because they had an epiphany or a moment from God saying, oh, we did wrong and now we're going to do right. I don't believe that. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know any of these people, but so they came in. They spent all that money to get rid of him in 2020. So now they're on board, full steam ahead. What are your thoughts on the possibility that they are devaluing the dollar intentionally to using tariffs to move us into some type of new digital system, whether it be backed by gold, back on a gold standard, or stable coin, so on and so forth? And before you answer that, the second part of it is, do you think they are intentionally trying to do away with the Federal Reserve and have some type of new privatized central bank, whether it be XRP or Tether or...
You see this battle brewing between the technocrats and the federal bank, and that's basically the central bank system itself. This could be really ugly in the end because the central bank system, including the BIS that heads the whole thing, you're talking about the controllers of the world, basically. I'm not sure that the technocrats per se, that if they think they're going to wage war against this banking establishment, it's going to be a huge scorch earth policy in the end that probably would take everything down. I don't know if it seems like that's in their mind. One of the first executive orders that Trump signed was one that forbid the central bank, our central bank, the Fed, to issue central bank digital currencies. That stunned me. Just flat out just said it. One pager, boom. So I had to process that for a few days and what's going on here? Where are they headed with this? Well, in his first administration, Trump wanted nothing to do with crypto, basically. He was not totally against it, but he didn't want anything to do with it. Now he has a crypto czar in place and an AI and a combination guy, where all of a sudden we see cryptocurrencies are back on the table and in favor. And we have a block against the Federal Reserve at this point to not issue digital currencies themselves. That would be competition to anything else. So if somehow the country is going to go to like some type of a stable coin, for instance, that will be in direct competition against the Fed. Where will that take it? I don't know, but it could be very disturbing for the banking system. On the other hand, you look at all the companies like the State Street, BlackRock, all these companies they all live off the banking system in the first place. Somehow these companies are going to survive, no doubt. Somehow some semblance of global banking has to survive. But on the other hand, is there a parallel system being set up right now that will maybe eventually squeeze the other out? I don't know. I can't figure it out.
What would a battle, a scorched earth battle between the technocrats and the central bank look like? I mean, is there a potential for it to go kinetic, to trickle all the way down to everyday people?
It could. We need to remember back in the 30s when technocracy first was created, that at Columbia University, by the way, 1932. That was during the heat of the Great Depression. The technocrats had thought at that point that capitalism was going to die. And so when they invented this brand new economic system, it was a resource-based economic system, altogether different than what was in place at the time. They didn't have any intent to kill to kill capitalism per se, but they were sure that it was going to die. So they wanted to be there to pick up the pieces. Well, over the years, they've never been successful in any attempt to destroy capitalism and free market economics. That they never had in their power to do it. But today, the situation is looking similar to the 1930s in that it would seem that the end of capitalism is at hand for a number of reasons. And also our political system as well is getting really shaky as well. I think the technocrats of today are sensing there's an opportunity for them to strike as the iron is hot, if you will, maybe to kind of help Humpty Dumpty to fall off the wall, maybe not, but nevertheless, they want to be the ones that rise out of the ashes to put everything back together. So I wouldn't say that they're causative in trying to destroy capitalism, but they're certainly cheering it on at this point. If it happens, they'll be very happy, and they'll be ready to sweep in with their resource-based economic system, run probably by AI at that point.
And do you feel like capitalism is still in this country? Because, after 2008, that's when I started to realize how, the Fed just came in and they propped up all these institutions. I mean, I was in Arizona at that time. You were probably here, saw the housing
Yes.
markets just completely melt down. I was working in retail banking at that time. And, you see people's bank accounts just dwindle. Property loan to value, the home equity lines weren't available any longer. And you saw that, these big institutions, they bailed them out. They bailed out the automakers. And, during COVID, how many large health systems received bailouts? I mean, everybody got bailouts pretty, that applied for it. So it just, I don't know that we have capitalism in this country anymore.
It's an illusion at this point, what we have. There's a word for it. It's called simulacra. That's based on something you remember from the past, but it's not real anymore. And so you you live in a fantasy that it is real, but it's not real. It's not even a mirage. We have fond memories of what capitalism was maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago. That those days are gone. We see the excesses at this point, where consolidation has rolled out or rolled up immense fortunes into the hands of a few, like BlackRock, for instance, and State Street and other institutional investors like that. So you have, I can't recall a statistic, but the 80 or 90% of the wealth in America right now is owned basically probably by 3 or 4% of the people. This is not what we had before, for sure. And it's not, I hate to use equitable, but it's the common guy has been frozen out of the system at this point. People have dropped out from the middle class. They're now the lower class, or many of them are homeless at that point, maybe living with relatives, et cetera, kids still living with parents when they're 35 years old. There's been a radical shift in the whole demographic and the economic structure of our country. Even now, I saw one statistic recently that something like 65% or so of 70% of Americans can't scrape together even $1,000 for an emergency. That's sick. We have a sick economic system at this point. It still looks like capitalism. It's based on price function, supply and demand for sure. But the people who are operating the system, that running it, that would be you and me. Um, we're not getting anything out of it at this point. All of our labor is being harvested by people up at the top.
Do you think we are at the end of the debt-based system?
Well, it was seen that way for some reason, some purpose. We've seen global leaders talking about that openly, that this debt-based system is going to collapse in a grand fashion. It's going to be ugly all the way around. You had Klaus Schwab saying things like, "Well, by 2030, that's only 5 years away now. By 2030, you will own nothing, and you'll be happy." Well, that's you won't be happy about it, I guarantee you. But that's a flat out statement. You're not gonna own anything by that time. Means the stripping away of all private property um, out of the system. It probably means that there will be no no debt system for us and as individuals to run anything on our own. Maybe from the people at the top, maybe the corporations, the major corporations will have some type of debt that they're involved with it, but there won't be us at the bottom. So that means basically the retail banking sector would be out of business. For institutions, maybe it'll survive, but for the rest of us, it could be, the game could be over for the debt-based system. Having said that, there's so many schemes at this point on the table, starting from the United Nations down to private NGOs and private companies for other type of like an asset-based system where assets of the world are digitized, turned into uh, uh, well, turned away from debt to monetize the system going forward. Um, that's not a system that you and I will play with probably, but you see uh, like the movers and shakers in the banking world, and even in like the Rockefeller family, the the global elitists talking about the digitizing of the whole world for all of the assets it has is crazy. But this may be the type of a system that we see in the future that will be backed by some type of stable coin.
Are you referencing the Mar-a-Lago Accord with some of this stuff too?
That could absolutely, it could be. Yeah, yeah.
Because that's what Matt and I were talking about. And I would encourage people that, Patrick will plug where you can find him at the end, but to haven't listened to my conversation with Matt Smith to do that. One of the things that he brought up with also in that was the sovereign wealth fund, and this was something that I didn't think of at the time, but it's on my mind now. And I watched his interview with Howard Lutkin last year where he was talking about sovereign wealth fund and how you could put Anwar in there, you could put TikTok. And, I had Chris Martenson on and we were talking about Anwar. It's not like you can just open that up in a week, and it's not the Caribbean, it's Arctic. So you're not going to be able to drill out of there all year. So I feel like we're like dealing with salespeople here. We'll just throw the Anwar in there. We'll throw TikTok in there. We'll monetize it, and we'll bring gold back, repatriate gold, and it'll be worth 50,000. I'm making numbers up, but and it'll be fine. And we'll just inflate the debt away. And this is the new age of the United States.
That's not the way life works, except if you're in at the head of BlackRock or somebody like that, where you throw billions of dollars around making deals, but you never have any concept of the operation of the things that you're buying. You expect somebody else to take care of all the details. That's kind of the level that Trump operates on, by the way. he's always ready to make a deal with somebody, but ask him to take care of the details. No way. He's gonna he'll have somebody else take of it, take over all the details, and he'll expect them to do right with it, but he won't have a clue what he's signing up for when he first signs the deal.
Well, and getting with this, talking about the CBDCs here for a second, I feel the pillars to me are already there because we do everything digitally on our phone.
Yes, we do. However, the only feature that central bank digital currencies brought to the table that was anti-human, in my opinion, was to allow people, citizens, to open a bank account with the Fed directly. That's consumer banking going to the Fed. That would mean that all of the central banks would handle all people's assets. But all of the commercial banks would be out of business in short order, because who would want to keep your money in Wells Fargo, for instance, when you can keep it with the Fed? Doesn't make any sense to me. I would do it myself because I don't trust Wells Fargo or any other bank at that point. Um, so that's one of the things that the Trump has said, no, 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 you're not going to do that. We're not going to have a central bank digital currency in our country that could possibly do that. However, uh, Elon Musk has already said with his own mouth that he thinks that everybody should be involved with a crypto system where everybody has a crypto wallet and has the ability to transfer money back and forth without basically fees, et cetera. We can see this kind of this talk maturing with all of the crypto talk around um, the administration right now. For instance, when they talk about establishing a national reserve of cryptocurrency, what does that mean? What's the purpose for it? Well, you have to figure that somebody's figuring out a way to get into our pocket directly. That's what the central bank wanted to do, by the way. If they could get into our pocket directly, then they could control everything. Um, this would seem to me to be an end run around that concept. Um, so maybe it won't be forced, maybe it'll be voluntary at first, but it seems to me that the Trump administration is making a routine thing now about cryptocurrencies. A lot of people in society understand crypto already, and probably a lot of them have, crypto wallets, and they can deal with that. But when you look at things, when you look at all the payment systems now, like what Elon Musk wants to do with his X account, turning into like a WeChat, for instance, in Asia, where it's everything. It combines all your payment application payments from anybody. Actually, that's the conduit to which everything runs. Um, this would set up a surveillance system that could be monitored by AI for sure, that would track every single expenditure that you have in your whole lifetime. It also could monitor you and limit you in your expenditures, like they do in China today with their social credit scoring system. Um, you have money in your account, but they won't let you spend it on certain things. And for that matter, if you really cross them, they can just shut your money off from not. well, they can't burn the cash, obviously, but the electronic thing that deposits in your wallet, it can be turned off programmatically by the central authority. That's really scary.
But I feel like some of that stuff, it's already occurring. I mean, I've had people on here that have been debanked. The attorney generals have crushed them.
Yes, yes,
Some of the medical freedom doctors I've had on, their
yes,
livelihoods
yes,
of, including Robert Malone and Peter McCullough and
yeah.
so on and so forth.
That's right.
Uh, so these things are already happening here. So
Yes, they are.
that's where I come back to, like, the pillars are there, the foundations there, and to me, as long as this technology continues to evolve, and as long as we have electricity, it's inevitable that it's going to go in this direction. Because, in my view, I don't know how you stop that.
I'm not sure that can be stopped at this point. That we have to remember, this infrastructure just didn't happen by accident. It's been planned over a long period of time, at least probably since 1980. And when you consider how things have ramped up over the years, it was just in 2022, that was the first exposure that the world had of AI. That when OpenAI released its Chat GPT to the world just embraced it with open arms, and they had 200 million users in the first 2 or 3 months. It's crazy. But all of a sudden, we see this infrastructure has been developed, and now it's in the hands of these tech bros, if you will, all of them collectively on the same page, that they want to control everything in society with their AI. So this is not, we haven't arrived at this spot where AI is on the table as a major thing in society and the world, where cryptos possibly can be a stage on the stage of the world. This stuff has been building and building for years. All of a sudden, the building is being erected at this point. You can look at it like you drive down the street, and all of a sudden you see a building going out. And this happens a lot in Mesa, by the way, where we have all these new flat factories and warehouses and stuff being built out at the airport out here. And you look over and say, "Wow, where'd that come from?" Well, that wasn't there last week. How could that happen? It's a huge building. Well, you have to remember that building might have been in the making for years. They had to have permits, studies had to be made, ecological studies, engineering, financing, tenants, all that stuff has to be in place before even the first shovel of dirt is removed from that property. And after that, once the foundation is laid, then the walls go up with lightning speed at that point. Boom, and there you see the building. That's exactly what these people have done all these years. I think they've laid the groundwork for what we're seeing today, especially with AI. Now that they have it in their possession, however, and they see what the trajectory where it's going soon, they're probably overconfident with what they have, but nevertheless, they know they have the most potent weapon in the whole world that the whole world has ever seen to control mankind from from a cradle to grave. And they're exercising at this point. So my biggest concern, by the way, in Washington, D.C. at this point, all of these tech bros, some of them are competitors, fierce competitors. Elon Musk versus Peter Thiel versus Jeff Bezos, for instance. All these people are competitors. However, they're still on the same page with the domination of mankind. We should not forget that. So that means they're acting together. Whatever the competition plays out as, they're acting together as one group, as opposed to what the populist movement wanted in the first place. In other words, the populist vision for America is not the vision that these technocrats have collectively.
Do you do you think it's possible for AI to, because as long as it stays, I had Mike Adams on talking about this, as long as it stays decentralized, it can be very effective. Can it remain decentralized? And, DeepSeek would be an example of that. That's a question, by the way.
Yeah, really. Yeah, deep seek is that's another animal at this point. It's I have conflicting thoughts on how the Chinese did this, but the fact that they released this as an open source project is very disturbing, because now potentially any crackpot in the world, a programmer at least, can get his hands on it, and I think we're going to see some bad outcomes of that in the future. But
What kind of bad outcome, Patrick?
well, um, when bad actors can get their hands on such a powerful tool, it's like having an atomic bomb. Some people, you don't want to have them building a bomb in their garage, so that not only blow up the neighborhood but blow up the whole city. Um, Evil people in the world will do evil things with that type of a weapon. And when you have the engine in your hand, the things you can do with it are just inconceivable, like hacking, for instance, uh, setting up, pro bots to engineer social media accounts, for instance, um, and um, hacking into the banking system. Um, these are things that you just don't want to have loose in society. And it's already bad enough that the actors, the governments of the world already have these type of tools. Um, but getting at the hands of private citizens who are off the radar by and large, uh, just think of all the people. Well, all the terrorists in the world. There's one type of a terrorist that likes to blow things up with a bomb. There's another type of terrorist who would take AI and weaponize it to, um, to do the same things, just using AI. The control over drones, for instance. We see the effect of that in Ukraine, how effective they have been using cheaply made drones that are operated now by and large by AI programs. Well, there's still the government is doing that, but that could be easily done by an evil actor as well.
What about, no, Marana, you have a few more minutes?
Yeah, sure.
What about, they've talked about these Doge checks, which I interpret that as UBI.
Mhm.
With that, they start administering these checks to people. Is that also, they know what's coming in terms of AI? Because in the next 5 to 10 years, it feels like this is another thing that's moving very, very quickly. I mean, the white collar job is mostly going to be dead. And this is an article that my friend again, Matt Smith, was featured in talking about this. And before you answer that, I was just, off the top of my head thinking of industries that are already being impacted, but will be even more impacted. I think of real estate agents. What will the need be for that? Real estate developers, appraisers, shift over to healthcare, practitioners, physician's assistants, MDs, lawyers, paralegals, all the way down, accounting, staff level, bookkeepers, clerks, CPAs. And would you go all the way up to controller with that as well? What am I missing, Patrick? What else? Engineers?
Well, you got it. Yeah, exactly. China just launched last month an AI hospital. Flat out. No doctors, no physical doctors, no nurses, basically just AI running the whole thing, giving diagnoses to people who interact with the AI, and writing meds, prescriptions, doing follow-up call, monitoring, stuff like that. They want this AI hospital initially to treat 5,000 patients a month. That's just a start. They want to go up from there. We could do that in America right now with the technology that we have. You could see this within a year or two, an AI hospital in America, where it's basically run top to bottom with AI. That's how powerful AI has become. It can run whole departments in government or in industry. There was one company in Central America that hired an AI as a CEO of the company. I don't know how that's working out, but they thought, well, maybe that's a good thing. There's nothing that AI cannot do at this point better than a human. And just because the blue collar workers are not, they're not sweating, they're going to sweat when this raft of humanoid robots hits the street. That'll probably be the end of this year and next year, especially in 2026. Humanoid robots they have incredible mobility, they have incredible dexterity, strength, etc., powered with AI that's conversational with people, remembers everything you do, everything you've said, everything about you. When these types of robots are on the street, every blue collar job in the world will be up for grabs as well. Because what can a robot like that do with AI especially? Well, how about plumbing? How about construction? How about welding? You name it. I mean, any construction trade, any warehouse trade. Most Amazon warehouse right now are all automated with robots, whereas they had maybe 10 years ago, they had a staffing requirement, say, of 1,000 people. Now they're down to like 75 to 100 people, and the whole warehouse is run automatically by robots that scoot along with the floor. So blue collar jobs they're under threat too. That's all I'm saying. So it's going to be ugly.
How could you get a robot to fix your plumbing at your house? Would they have a Waymo car, drop it off?
That's right. You could probably just walk to your house, whatever. But yeah, exactly. Maybe Waymo will have a contract with the AI plumber.
For those who don't know, that's these Waymo cars, which started in Tempe, but now I see them all over the place by
Yeah.
me.
Hmm. Yeah.
I'm not getting one of those things. I actually joked around. A guy was getting in one. I was coming back from a run, and I go, hopefully your ex didn't order that for you. She might have the route drive you right off a cliff. And he started laughing.
As he ran off a cliff.
Well, she set up the route to go off the side of a mountain or drive him right to jail. With those. I like in Ohio where I'm from. I don't know that those things can you do a Waymo car if there's snow or weather where you need human reaction.
They're getting so sophisticated at this point. It's just beyond belief. Um, it's not anymore that they just get instructions or like, well, here's the roads, here's the map, here's what you expect. Maybe the cars drive just like they're supposed to drive. But AI at this point has gotten so advanced that it can learn on its own based on changing conditions that are met on the road. This is a new phase of AI where AI can learn on its own without human input. Just think of the possibilities. This is actually a kind of a general capability with most of the LLM models today, that they can reinforce their own learning without human input. In other words, they can discover new things about the environment, whatever using sight and sound, etc. They can discover new patterns, new things about life, about the world around it, and the way things move. This is really scary because once learning becomes an autonomous task for an AI, the sky's the limit at that point.
Yeah. I wonder, and I wouldn't test this out for myself to see if it's true or not, but like with those Waymo cars, for example, if a dog runs in front of one driving at 35 miles an hour, or a kid with a little ball, do those cars know to be able to brake?
Well, here's the scenario. There will be one dog that runs across the road the first time. That dog gets hit, or maybe it escapes, but that doesn't matter. The first time that a Tesla, for instance, sees a dog in the street, is running across the front, it's going to make its own assessment at that point what to do. Maybe it will hit the dog and mistake, but that will be a learning experience for it. Don't hit the dog. When that message is received by the AI in that Tesla, is going to be transmitted to all other Teslas around the world. They'll be all prepared to see the dog running across the street. Don't hit the dog, right? Or the kid bouncing a ball, or whatever the issue is. Well, maybe the snowbank that they almost ran into. Don't do that. So the instructions, the experience of one part of the AI can be rolled out immediately to everybody else. This is the self reinforcement aspect of Tesla, especially. Elon Musk, by the way, he says he does not own, he doesn't build cars. He's not an auto guy. He says, I'm a robot guy. I build robots with AI. So basically, he views himself as an AI company who, by the way, builds robots to use AI on the road. Now he's going to do with his new Optimus humanoid robot. Looks pretty good on film, but he's expecting to have 10,000 of these robots, humanoid looking robots, on the street or in factories by the end of 2025. He's expecting to roll out at least 100,000 of them the next year in 2026. His competitors undoubtedly are going to do the same thing. So we're going to see an appearance of all these humanoid robots running around doing things, maybe like construction things, dangerous jobs. But how about, for instance, in the healthcare, elder care industry, for instance? They're using them for, to take care of elderly patients at this point, who don't have a human assistant, or maybe they don't have enough human assistants to go around. Well, humanoid robots are perfect example of that. I don't know about you, but when I get gold, I don't want a robot taking care of me. I would like to see somebody human take on, on the side of my bed. But you can just see how this will roll out, because humanoid robots are the same thing as a car, really, that is equipped with AI. And what can you say? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and getting back to the automotive here for a second, as these cars continue, you're going to see more and more of them on the road, and you're just slowly going to lose the ability to be driving your car, because they'll make it so much more cost effective for you to utilize this. And public bus transportation, I mean, the sky's the limit of what they can do with all this. And we were talking before we started recording about the whole idea of the 15-minute city, and because they're building all over the place by me, probably by you too. Yes. And I think these are 15, and they're doing the same thing in Northeast Ohio. I've never seen like the Kierland Commons and the Scottsdale quarters, and these outdoor shopping. They have those there, but they're now building like these expensive apartments with like a Kierland style shopping in Northeast Ohio, which I had not seen before. So I look at this as 15-minute cities without saying it.
Yes. These cities are being architected, in some cases right on top of an existing city. Okay, so the city planners can define an area where they want to make a 15-minute city, and then they can approve construction projects within that to accomplish that. At this point, however, you don't see the control necessarily, at least in the first stage. However, that control of the people in that 15-minute city. That means basically you have to have some transportation or some way to get out of that area. But the idea is you want to stay in that area as much as possible. That can be enforced so easily with electronic means, because everybody can be tracked. And if you exceed your limit or whatever, you can get a punishment, maybe a fine, maybe go home, that sort of thing. But this is coming. We see all of these areas around the country now. This is part of the city planning process. You see, they're defining these areas that can be 15-minute cities. Then they're targeting buildings to be constructed there that would be compatible with the 15-minute city. And then the last thing will be the control of the people that are in those 15-minute cities. And it'll be too late for them at that point to get out.
I think of the movie. Do you ever see the movie Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes? And you swear, and a robot would, issue a receipt. You have a $5 fine.
Exactly.
How far do you think this is from the stage of where people will be locked down and they'll realize that it's too late?
In some ways, we're close to it right now. We really are. a general awareness where thing is headed. But the concept of a scientific dictatorship, this was specified in 1932 at Columbia University. They didn't have the technology, but they saw forward what was going to happen because the technocracy study group was housed at Columbia University in the basement of Hamilton Hall, where they shared that basement with the early expression of IBM. That's where they built their first tabulator that was shipped into Nazi Germany, by the way. But nevertheless, these were the top brainiacs of that day, rubbing shoulders, having discussion over lunch, etc. Probably maybe smoking stogies, whatever, drinking scotch, who knows? But they were comrades in that sense. They saw forward where technology was going at that point. It was clear, even in their writings back then, they didn't see the transistor, they didn't see advanced computers, they didn't see quantum computers, none of that, but they knew that the technology eventually was going to provide a mechanism to control all of society. We're at that point right now. And they have the means to do it. We're going to see, I think, an example of this when AI gets a hold of our government, for instance. In fact, OpenAI just released a product about 2 weeks ago. It's called OpenAI Gov. That's GOV, specifically built for government institutions that can be secure in Microsoft's Azure framework. That's not hackable, they say, but we know everything's hackable. But nevertheless, they're able to put sensitive personal data, organizational data into the AI and let AI take over the processing of that data. They're also rolling this out to state governments as well. So likely we're going to get this in Arizona at some point, where this OpenAI Gov program will be available to all the agencies in a government, even perhaps down to the county or the city level. This is very disturbing. We're going to see this roll out. You'll see the effects of it. Some people will say, well, it's really great, I can get stuff done, Matt. But I think in the end of it, you're going to see when you have an exception, when you have a grievance, forget getting it taken care of, because there's going to be no mercy whatsoever. And AI is not going to grant you any grace at all. And you think you're talking to a human, but you're actually talking to an AI. Today, you can't tell the difference. You really can't. It's scary. You have to be on on the alert to try to trip up the person that you're talking to reveal that they are an AI, not a real person. So in the future, most people will not know that they're even not talking to a human being. They think they will, but this is going to be really dystopian in the end of it.
So OpenAI on the state level, I guess I'm confused. How will they sell it so that people will embrace it, and then how will it turn on us?
This is they can sell it anywhere they want. If they go privately to a state agency, for instance, let's say to the AG's office in Arizona, and they say, well, with our .gov system here, you can take all of your caseload and put it all into the AI program, and we'll let the Gov program write all the briefs, all the backup information, et cetera, to handle your whole caseload. All of a sudden, well, you're not going to hear about this because they don't have any reason to tell you, or maybe even, not even a liability either. But you'll see it in the end when you'll see either the check for it was written or the outcome that you didn't like. And, it's just going to be in place. So probably looking at a legal case like that where they have thousands of lawsuits going on and all kinds of applications and stuff that are being filed routinely, all that kind of stuff could be handled by AI, theoretically.
So last question. People are going to listen to this and say, Michael, you didn't even ask Patrick, okay, what should I do? So I'm going to ask you, what should individuals do, Patrick?
Scream bloody murder. Well, you can pray too. I'll tell you what, this is we're in deep grease here. One thing we can do for sure, starting at the local level, you can educate your city council, your mayor, your city manager, all these people on a local basis to alert them to the threat first off, and then educate them to turn it away. When it comes, don't do it. We've had examples of this, for instance, when surveillance cameras came out a few years ago. Some cities say, "No way, Jose, we're not gonna do that there. We're not gonna do it, not on our watch." And they turned the whole thing away. Other cities embraced it with open arms. But it was up to the cities to tell them, "No, we're not going to do that." We saw this with big box stores when a little town somewhere on the outskirts, somebody like Home Depot came in and said, "Hey, we want to put a store, or maybe a big Walmart. We want to put a store in your community." They said, "No, you're not going to do that. You're going to drive all our local businesses out of business. No, you can't build here." They just went somebody down the road and talked to other people. So they just kept asking and knocking on doors until they found cities that would host them. But it was always up to the city to make their future. You see, that's my whole point. You can educate your city to do things that protect the citizens of a city. That's really what they're there for in the first place. The same thing with state government as well. In Arizona, we have some good state representatives, I think, probably in the Senate and the House as well, who are approachable, to be educated, and citizens can get behind them to bolster their efforts to turn away AI when it comes to them. So we'll see. At this point, obviously, Washington D.C. is caved. It's just, the whole thing is just, it's been subverted by Elon Musk and his whole crowd at Doge.
Well, and I think people, they have a hard time dealing with the fact that there's no more easy roads anymore, and what you just said might not be the answer that people want, but it's what you should have always been doing, is working within your local household and your local street and community and town and so on and so forth. You and I can't control what happens at the top level.
You're right. Absolutely right. It's always been a local battle. That's how this whole United Nations crowd has swamped us all with this sustainable development nonsense. For instance, in Mesa here, we have an accelerated climate action plan. In Mesa, Mesa's been controlled by supposedly conservatives for 50 years. All of a sudden, and it's not in print, by the way. I tried to find it. I couldn't, but I printed it myself. We have this crazy climate action plan. Well, who on earth sold that to the city? The citizens didn't. Well, outside consultants came in. They said, "Well, you have to have this because other you can be sued if you don't," and blah blah blah. You need to do this. And so they spent buku bucks with outside consultants to write this climate action plan for our city. And when citizens looked at it today, and I show them the book, how'd this get, who did this? What are they thinking? Who cares about climate action plan and Mesa, Arizona? Yet they're willing to spend hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to make sure that it happens. That's taxpayer money. So, we got schnookered along the way by all of these people that came in from the outside to talk to our cities to make these things happen. We can do the same thing. We're the citizens that live here in a city. We should be able to do the same thing to turn the tables on these people, get them kicked out of our city, and say basically, don't come back.
Yeah, it always cracks me up every summer here. Every summer we're breaking records, they say. Every single summer. And I've come across people, they're like, yeah, I changed out my grass in my yard and put in desert rocks. That way, doing my part. And I'm just like, you're still believing that? It's 118. It's hot here in the summer. It is what it is. I mean, I've had Tony Heller on a few times talking about the extreme heat that we've had in the 70s.
Yes, I know. Crazy. Back in the 70s, the big thing back then was global cooling. It was all even hit the cover of Newsweek magazine. That global cooling was going to kill us all, and stock up on furs and stuff like that. And well, they didn't get very, very far with that, because obviously global cooling wouldn't fly. Nobody bought it. So they switched at that point. Oh, well, let's do global warming instead. So let's promote that myth that we're all going to burn up. It's been a flip flop. It doesn't matter which side you're on. Cooling, warming, it's all your fault, and you need to be punished for it.
I love the people, in July, it'll be, 118, and I'll say, it's hot today. Climate change. And you're just like, I'd rather you say it that way. I know I shouldn't even talk to you. Like, it's just better off.
Exactly.
Where can people find you, Patrick?
Technocracy.news is my primary website. I also have a Substack, patrickwood.substack.com.
And then your X handle?
Stop Technocracy.
Patrick, I enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for doing this, and look forward to continuing to follow your work, and love to have you back on.
My pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity.
Mic drop.